most people do not realize how much negativity they absorb every single day. It happens quietly, almost invisibly, shaping emotions, influencing thoughts, draining energy little by little until the mind begins to feel heavy without understanding why. Negativity rarely enters your life dramatically. It does not always announce itself through conflict or obvious pain. Sometimes it enters through repeated conversations filled with fear. Sometimes it comes through constant exposure to criticism, judgment, anger, or anxiety. Sometimes it arrives through the endless noise of the world, through social media, through stressful environments, or through people who have forgotten how to live in peace within themselves. The first step toward protecting yourself is awareness. Awareness is one of the greatest forms of intelligence because the moment you become conscious of what is affecting your inner world, you stop becoming an unconscious receiver of energy that does not belong to you. Many people move through life absorbing emotions from everyone around them. They carry stress that is not theirs. They carry anger that began in someone else. They carry fear that entered through repeated exposures. You to negativity. Slowly, without realizing it, they begin living under emotional clouds created by the outside world. You must begin observing your energy carefully. Notice how you feel after spending time with certain people. Notice how your body reacts to environments filled with tension or conflict. Your body is always communicating with you. Sometimes your mind ignores the signals, but your energy never lies. There are places that make you feel lighter, clearer, calmer, more alive. And there are places that leave you exhausted, anxious, emotionally restless, or mentally drained. The same is true for people. Some people inspire peace simply by their presence. Others create emotional heaviness even when they say very little. This does not mean judging others. It means becoming conscious of how energy moves through your life. When you walk into a room where people are angry, you can feel the tension immediately. Nothing may be spoken directly to you, yet your nervous system responds, your energy responds. Human beings are deeply connected to one another emotionally and energetically. You are constantly exchanging emotional signals with the world around you. The problem is that most people have never been taught how to protect their inner space. Awareness changes everything because it interrupts unconscious absorption. The moment you become aware, you begin choosing instead of reacting automatically. You stop allowing every opinion, every fear, every negative emotion to enter your mind freely. You begin recognizing that not everything around you deserves access to your consciousness. Just because negativity exists does not mean it must become part of your inner world. There is a powerful difference between witnessing negativity and absorbing it. You may witness suffering in the world, but you do not have to become consumed by hopelessness. You may hear criticism, but you do not have to turn it into self-hatred. You may encounter fear, but you do not have to let fear control your perception of life. Awareness creates that sacred space between experience and reaction. In that space, your freedom begins. Many people live with constant mental noise because they never pause long enough to observe what they are feeding their minds. Every day, the mind is being programmed by whatever it repeatedly consumes. If your attention is constantly focused on conflict, fear, gossip, anger, and comparison, your inner state begins reflecting the same energy. The mind becomes restless because it has been trained to expect disturbance. This is why awareness is not just spiritual wisdom, it is emotional survival. Pay attention to the emotional atmosphere you create around yourself. Observe the conversations you participate in. Some conversations nourish the soul, others slowly poison the mind. Endless complaining weakens your energy. Constant judgment darkens your perception. Gossip pulls consciousness downward. Fear-based thinking creates emotional paralysis. The more aware you become, the more selective you naturally become with your attention. Attention is sacred because wherever attention flows, energy grows. If you constantly feed negativity with your focus, negativity expands inside you. But when awareness awakens, you begin redirecting your attention toward peace, clarity, gratitude, and higher understanding. You begin protecting your inner environment with greater care. And perhaps most importantly, awareness helps you recognize when negativity is arising from within yourself. Sometimes the greatest source of suffering is not the outer world, but unconscious patterns living inside the mind. Old wounds, unresolved pain, insecurity, resentment, self-judgment, these inner energies shape how you experience reality. If you are unaware of them, they silently control your emotions and reactions. But once you become conscious of these patterns, healing begins. Awareness brings light into darkness. Do not underestimate the power of simply observing your thoughts without immediately believing them. Many negative thoughts are temporary emotional storms, not truth. When you become aware of your mental patterns, you stop identifying with every fearful voice inside your head. You realize that awareness itself is deeper than the noise of the mind. Beneath all mental chaos, there is a stillness within you that remains untouched. The world may continue producing noise, conflict, and negativity, but your inner peace no longer has to depend on external conditions. Awareness becomes your protection. Consciousness becomes your shield. The moment you stop unconsciously absorbing everything around you, you reclaim the power to choose what enters your spirit. And that is where true freedom begins. The mind is one of the most powerful forces, RCEs in your life, yet most people allow it to operate without awareness, without discipline, without direction. Thoughts move continuously through consciousness, shaping emotions, influencing decisions, and silently creating the atmosphere in which a person lives. Long before an experience appears in the outer world, it has already been experienced internally through thought and perception. This is why protecting yourself from negativity must begin with protecting the mind itself. Every thought carries energy. Every word carries vibration. What you repeatedly think and speak gradually becomes the emotional environment you live within. Many people unknowingly poison their own inner world through constant fear, self-criticism, worry, resentment, and hopeless thinking. They wake up already expecting stress. They speak about life as if suffering is inevitable. They repeat negative stories until the mind accepts limitation as truth. Over time, the nervous system becomes conditioned to live in survival rather than peace. But the mind was never meant to become a prison. It was meant to become a doorway into higher awareness. You must begin becoming conscious of the conversations happening inside you every day. Listen carefully to the voice within your mind. Is it constantly judging you? Is it repeating fear? Is it feeding insecurity? Is it expecting failure before life even unfolds? Many people would never speak to others the way they speak to themselves internally. The inner dialogue becomes harsh, anxious, and destructive, and then they wonder why peace feels so far away. Your thoughts are not small things. Thoughts shape biology. Thoughts influence emotion. Thoughts affect energy, relationships, creativity, and perception. When the mind continuously focuses on negativity, the body responds as though danger is constantly present. Stress increases, emotional exhaustion grows, the spirit becomes heavy. Eventually, a person loses connection to joy, not because joy disappeared, but because the mind became conditioned to search for darkness. This is why you must become intentional with your thinking. Positive thinking does not mean pretending pain does not exist. It does not mean denying challenges or avoiding reality. True positivity is the ability to remain connected to higher awareness even while facing difficulty. It is emotional mastery. It is spiritual intelligence. It is the refusal to allow fear to dominate consciousness. The quality of your thoughts determines the quality of your inner life. If you constantly feed the mind anger, comparison, judgment, and anxiety, the mind will produce suffering. But when you nourish consciousness with gratitude, compassion, hope, peace, and trust, something begins changing from within. The emotional atmosphere becomes lighter. Clarity returns. Energy strengthens. Words also hold extraordinary power. Human beings often underestimate the energy hidden within language. The words you speak are constantly shaping your reality. Every time you say, I am tired of life, nothing ever works for me, I cannot do this, or everything is falling apart, the subconscious mind listens carefully. The body listens carefully. Energy responds to repetition. Whatever you continuously declare begins influencing your emotional state and perception of possibility. This is why conscious speech matters deeply. Speak in ways that strengthen life within you rather than weaken it. Speak healing instead of fear. Speak possibility instead of defeat. Speak peace instead of chaos. Even in difficult moments, your words could neither create darkness or guide consciousness toward light. Notice how different you feel around someone who constantly complains compared to someone who speaks with calmness, wisdom, and encouragement. Energy moves through language. Some words drain life from the spirit, others awaken strength. The vibration of speech affects not only the person listening but also the person speaking. Many people wait for the world to become positive before they allow themselves to feel peace. But inner peace cannot depend on external conditions because the external world is always changing. If your emotional state depends entirely on circumstances, you will constantly feel unstable. Real protection from negativity begins when you realize you have the power to choose your inner response regardless of what happens around you. Every morning before the noise of the world enters your consciousness, take a moment to plant intentional thoughts into the mind. Begin the day with gratitude. Begin with awareness. Begin by remembering who you truly are beyond fear and stress. The mind is most impressionable when the day begins. If the first thing you consume is negativity, anxiety enters immediately. B. If you begin with stillness, reflection, and positive intention, you create emotional stability that protects you throughout the day. You must also become careful about what you allow into your mental space. The mind absorbs whatever it repeatedly consumes. If you constantly surround yourself with fear based media, angry conversations, endless comparison, and emotional chaos, those energies begin shaping your consciousness. Protect your attention because attention is creative power. Wherever attention goes, emotional energy follows. Positive thoughts are not weak, they are transformative. A peaceful mind sees solutions where fear sees obstacles. A grateful heart experiences abundance where negativity sees lack. A calm consciousness responds wisely instead of reacting emotionally. The stronger your inner state becomes, the less control external negativity has over you. There will always be people who project fear, anger, and limitation onto others because they are disconnected from peace within themselves. But you do not have to carry their emotional burdens. You do not have to become what surrounds you. You can remain rooted in awareness. You can train the mind to return again and again to clarity, compassion, and stillness. The mind becomes powerful when it learns how to serve consciousness instead of unconscious fear. And the moment your thoughts begin creating peace instead of suffering, negativity loses its power over your life. Because the reality you experience within eventually becomes the reality you create around you. One of the deepest misunderstandings people carry is the belief that protecting their peace means rejecting others or becoming emotionally cold. In truth, protecting your energy is an act of self-respect, not selfishness. There are many people who spend their lives trying to heal everyone around them while quietly exhausting themselves in the process. They absorb other people's anger, fear, confusion, and emotional chaos until they no longer recognize their own inner stillness. Slowly, their spirit becomes burdened by emotional weight that was never theirs to carry. You must understand something very important. Compassion does not require emotional self-destruction. Love does not mean allowing toxic energy unlimited access to your consciousness. And kindness does not mean abandoning your own emotional well-being in order to keep everyone else comfortable. There are people who naturally uplift your energy. Their presence brings calmness, clarity, encouragement, and peace. After speaking with them, you feel lighter. Your mind becomes more centered. Your spirit feels nourished. But there are also people whose energy constantly pulls you into emotional exhaustion. Some people carry unresolved pain so deeply that they unconsciously spread negativity everywhere they go. Their conversations revolve around criticism, drama, resentment, fear, jealousy, blame, or endless emotional conflict. Without awareness, you begin absorbing their emotional state into your own nervous system. This is why emotional boundaries are essential for inner peace. Most people fear creating boundaries because they associate boundaries with rejection. But boundaries are not walls built from hate. They are acts of awareness built from wisdom. A healthy boundary simply means recognizing where your emotional responsibility ends and another person's begins. You are not responsible for fixing every wounded person you encounter. You are not required to sacrifice your mental peace in order to rescue someone from their own unconscious pattern. And as many people become emotionally trapped because they feel guilty saying no, they continue participating in relationships, conversations, and environments that constantly drain their spirit because they fear disappointing others. But every time you ignore your inner discomfort to please someone else, you slowly disconnect from yourself. The body begins signaling exhaustion, the mind becomes restless, emotional heaviness increases. Yet people continue tolerating toxicity because they mistake endurance for love. Real love does not require you to suffer endlessly. You must begin paying attention to how relationships affect your inner state. Some individuals only approach you when they need emotional release. They unload negativity repeatedly but never seek healing or growth. They remain attached to chaos because chaos has become familiar to them. If you continuously absorb that energy without awareness, eventually your own mind becomes clouded. You begin carrying emotions that did not originate within you. This is especially true for highly empathetic people. Sensitive individuals often feel the emotions of others deeply. They walk into rooms and immediately sense tension. They absorb sadness, anger, and anxiety without even realizing it. Because they care deeply, they often feel responsible for everyone's emotional experience. But empathy without boundaries leads to emotional burnout. You cannot pour peace into the world if your own inner world has become depleted. Protecting your energy sometimes requires distance, not hatred, not revenge, simply distance. Sometimes healing begins the moment you stop constantly exposing yourself to negativity. There are relationships that keep old wounds alive because the connection itself is rooted in pain, manipulation, criticism, or emotional instability. Remaining attached to such energy out of guilt only prolongs suffering. And yet, many people stay emotionally attached because they fear loneliness more than emotional exhaustion. They continue surrounding themselves with unhealthy energy simply to avoid being alone with themselves. But solitude is not the enemy. In many cases, solitude becomes the space where healing finally begins. Silence allows you to hear your own inner voice again after years of emotional noise. You must learn the sacred power of saying no without anger and walking away without hatred. Not every battle deserves your energy. Not every argument deserves your attention. Not every opinion deserves space in your mind. Inner peace grows when you stop trying to control how everyone perceives you. There is also a profound difference between helping someone and becoming emotionally consumed by them. You may support others with compassion while still protecting your own emotional balance. You may listen without absorbing. You may care without carrying their pain as your personal burden. This is emotional maturity. Some people unconsciously create chaos because they have never learned how to live in peace. If you attempt to save everyone, you will eventually lose yourself. Healing cannot be forced upon another person. Transformation happens only when someone becomes willing to face themselves honestly. No amount of sacrifice from you can replace another person's inner work. This realization is liberating because it allows you to return your focus to your own consciousness. Instead of constantly managing the emotions of others, you begin nurturing your own inner stability. You become more intentional about the environments you enter, the conversations you engage in, and the energy you allow into your life. And something beautiful happens when you stop feeding toxic dynamics with your emotional energy. Your mind becomes quieter. Your body relaxes. Clarity returns. You begin feeling connected to yourself again. Peace no longer feels distant because you are no longer surrounding yourself with constant emotional turbulence. The truth is, your energy is sacred. Your consciousness is sacred. Your inner peace deserves protection. Not everyone will understand the boundaries you create, especially those who benefited from your lack of boundaries in the past. But protecting your spirit is necessary if you wish to live with clarity, compassion, and emotional freedom. Because the moment you stop allowing toxic energy to live rent-free inside your mind, your soul finally has space to breathe again. The human mind was never designed to remain in constant noise, yet this is how most people live every single day. From the moment they wake up, their attention is pulled outward toward responsibilities, notifications, conversations, worries, distractions, fears about the future, regrets about the past. The mind becomes crowded with thoughts moving endlessly in every direction. Over time, this constant mental activity creates emotional exhaustion. People begin feeling disconnected from themselves, not because peace disappeared, but because inner silence became buried beneath endless stimulation. Negativity accumulates in the mind the same way dust gathers in a forgotten room. If you never pause to clear it away, eventually the inner world becomes heavy and unclear. Emotional tension begins building quietly inside the body. Stress settles into the nervous system. Fear repeats itself through thought patterns. Unresolved emotions remain trapped within consciousness, influencing reactions, relationships, and perception without awareness. This is why cleansing your energy daily is not a luxury. It is essential for emotional balance and spiritual clarity. Silence has become rare in the modern world, but silence is one of the most healing experiences available to human beings. In silence, you begin hearing what the noise has been hiding. You begin reconnecting with the deeper part of yourself that exists beneath anxiety, beyond emotional chaos, beyond the constant movement of thought. Most people are afraid of silence because they have spent their life west distracting themselves from their own inner world. But healing begins the moment you become willing to sit quietly with yourself. Meditation is not about forcing the mind to become empty. It is not about controlling every thought. Meditation is the gentle process of returning awareness to the present moment. It is the art of observing without becoming trapped by mental noise. The moment you sit in stillness and simply watch the movement of the mind, something profound begins happening. You realize that thoughts are constantly changing, emotions are constantly moving, but awareness itself remains steady beneath them all. This realization changes your relationship with negativity completely. Most suffering continues because people become identified with every fearful thought that enters the mind. They believe every emotion immediately. They react unconsciously to every mental storm. But through meditation and inner stillness, you begin recognizing that you are not the chaos passing through your consciousness. You are the awareness observing it. That awareness is naturally peaceful, naturally clear, naturally whole. Even a few minutes of conscious breathing can begin to transform your emotional state. Breath is deeply connected to energy, emotion, and nervous system balance. Notice how breathing changes when fear appears. The breath becomes shallow, rushed, tense. But when you slow the breath consciously, the body receives a message of safety. The nervous system begins calming. Emotional tension softens. Clarity slowly returns. This is why practices such as meditation, prayer, deep breathing, mindfulness, and silent reflection have existed across cultures for thousands of years. Human beings have always needed spaces of stillness to reconnect with inner harmony. The outer world constantly pulls attention outward, but silence pulls consciousness inward toward truth. Nature also carries extraordinary healing power. Spend time near trees, water, open skies, or natural landscapes and observe what happens internally. The mind begins slowing down naturally. Emotional heaviness softens. There is wisdom in nature because nature exists without resistance. A tree does not struggle to become something else. The ocean does not fight its own movement. Nature reminds you how to return to presence. Many people search for peace through external achievement, believe in. Peace will finally arrive after success, approval, or control. But inner peace cannot be found through endless external pursuit because peace is not something you acquire. It is something you uncover when mental noise begins dissolving. There is also deep healing in allowing yourself moments without stimulation. Most people are constantly consuming information, entertainment, or distraction because they fear being alone with their own thoughts. But continuous distraction weakens awareness. The mind becomes addicted to noise. And when the mind is overstimulated, negativity enters more easily because there is no inner stillness strong enough to filter it. Silence strengthens consciousness. When you meditate regularly, something subtle but powerful changes inside you. You become less reactive. You stop absorbing every emotional atmosphere around you. Fear loses some of its control. Thoughts no longer dominate you as completely as before. Instead of being pulled unconsciously into negativity, you begin responding with greater awareness and calmness. This does not mean difficult emotions disappear forever. There will still be moments of sadness, frustration, uncertainty, or pain because human life naturally contains emotional movement. But meditation teaches you how to experience emotions without drowning inside them. You begin allowing emotions to move through you instead of becoming trapped within you. And perhaps most importantly, silence reconnects you with your deeper identity beyond the conditioned mind. Beneath stress, beneath fear, beneath all emotional turbulence, there is a part of you untouched by negativity. There is a stillness that remains whole regardless of external circumstances. Most people spend their lives searching for security outside themselves while ignoring the peace already present within. The more connected you become to inner stillness, the less dependent you become on external validation or emotional chaos. Your energy becomes cleaner. Your perception becomes clearer. Your reactions become wiser. Negativity may still exist around you, but it no longer controls your inner state so easily. This is why daily spiritual cleansing matters so deeply. Just as the body needs rest and nourishment, the mind and spirit need silence, reflection, and renewal. Without it, emotional exhaustion slowly takes over. But when you create space for stillness each day, you begin returning to balance again and again. And in that stillness, you remember that peace was never absent from your life, only hidden beneath the noise. Many people try to protect themselves from negativity only through the mind, while ignoring the condition of the body. But the mind and body are not separate systems living independently from one another. They are deeply interconnected expressions of the same energy. Every thought affects the body, and every condition of the body influences the quality of thought. When the body becomes exhausted, overstimulated, neglected, or unhealthy, the mind becomes more vulnerable to fear, emotional instability, and negativity. This is why protecting your energy also requires caring for your physical well-being with awareness and respect. The modern world has normalized exhaustion. People wear stress like an identity. They push themselves beyond emotional and physical limits, ignore rest, consume endless stimulation, and then wonder why peace feels impossible to maintain. But a tired nervous system cannot hold emotional balance for long. When the body is overwhelmed, even small problems begin feeling emotionally heavy. Why reactions become stronger, patience weakens, mental clarity fades. Negativity enters more easily because the entire system is depleted. Your body is constantly communicating with you. Fatigue, tension, headaches, restlessness, emotional irritability, and lack of motivation are not always random problems. Often they are signals that your energy has become imbalanced. Yet most people silence these signals instead of listening to them. They continue forcing themselves through stress while disconnecting further from the wisdom of the body. True healing begins when you stop treating the body like a machine and begin recognizing it as a living expression of consciousness. Sleep, for example, is not simply physical rest. Sleep is emotional and energetic restoration. During deep rest, the nervous system recalibrates. The mind processes emotional experiences. The body repairs itself naturally. But many people live in constant stimulation, carrying stress into the night through endless thinking, screens, fear, and emotional tension. The body may lie down, but the mind continues racing. Over time, lack of proper rest weakens emotional resilience. Anxiety increases. Negativity feels heavy. 4. Because the mind no longer has the strength to respond consciously. Rest is not laziness. Rest is intelligence. The same is true with nourishment. The food you consume becomes energy, emotion, and biology within you. Many people eat unconsciously while emotionally disconnected from their own bodies. They consume foods filled with imbalance, overstimulation, or excess while ignoring how deeply nutrition affects mental clarity and emotional stability. What you place into your body influences your mood, your energy levels, your nervous system, and even the way you respond to stress. When the body is nourished with awareness, there is greater emotional steadiness. The mind becomes clearer, energy becomes lighter. You feel more connected to yourself. But when the body is constantly overloaded, neglected, or mistreated, emotional heaviness increases naturally. Movement is also essential for emotional cleansing. Human beings were not designed to remain physically stagnant while carrying emotional tension internally. Emotions often become trapped within the body when they are never released consciously. Stress accumulates in the muscles. Anxiety tightens the chest and shoulders. Fear affects breathing patterns. Over time, emotional energy settles physically within the system. This is why movement has such transformative power. Walking, stretching, exercise, yoga, dancing, or even simple conscious movement helps release emotional heaviness stored within the body. Movement changes energy. It restores circulation not only physically but emotionally. Have you ever noticed how different you feel after walking in fresh air or moving your body intentionally? The mind feels lighter because stagnant energy begins dissolving. Hydration, breathing, sunlight, rest, and physical care may seem simple. Yet these small daily habits shape your emotional state more than most people realize. Negativity grows more easily in a system already weakened by exhaustion and imbalance. But when the body feels strong, supported, and alive, the mind naturally becomes more resilient. You must also become aware of overstimulation. Modern life constantly floods the nervous system with noise, information, pressure, and distraction. The body rarely receives true moments of stillness. Even during rest, many people remain mentally consumed by screens, stress, or emotional tension. The nervous, whose system never fully relaxes. Eventually, people begin living in a permanent state of internal alertness without recognizing it. When the nervous system remains overstimulated for too long, emotional sensitivity increases. Fear becomes easier to trigger. Small frustrations feel overwhelming. The mind loses its natural ability to remain centered. This is why slowing down intentionally is so important. Sometimes healing begins not by adding more to your life, but by removing unnecessary overload. Spend time reconnecting with your body consciously. Eat slowly. Walk slowly. Breathe deeply. Feel the presence of life within you instead of rushing endlessly through every moment. Most people are disconnected from their own bodies because their attention is trapped in constant mental activity. But peace enters when awareness returns to the present moment. There is profound wisdom in treating the body with kindness rather than punishment. Many people create inner conflict through harsh self-judgment, comparison, or unrealistic expectations. They disconnect from their own physical being through criticism instead of compassion. But healing energy cannot grow in an environment of self-rejection. Sitian, your relationship with your body influences your entire emotional state. The more aligned your physical habits become with balance and awareness, the stronger your energy becomes naturally. You begin feeling less emotionally fragile. Stress no longer controls you as easily. Your mind becomes steadier because the body supporting it has become healthier and more grounded. And slowly you realize that protecting yourself from negativity is not about building emotional armor against the world. It is about creating inner harmony so strong that negativity no longer finds easy space within you. Because when the body, mind, and spirit begin moving together in balance, peace stops feeling temporary and starts becoming your natural state. One of the greatest reasons negativity gains power over human beings is because so many people live disconnected from meaning. When the mind has no deeper purpose, it becomes easily consumed by fear, distraction, comparison, and emotional emptiness. A person without inner direction begins searching constantly for fulfillment in external approval, temporary pleasure, or endless control over life's uncertainties. But no external achievement can be permanent. Anciently protect you from negativity if your inner world remains disconnected from purpose and peace. There is a profound difference between existing and truly living. Many people move through life mechanically, repeating routines, reacting to circumstances, carrying stress from one day into the next without ever asking themselves what truly nourishes the soul. The absence of purpose creates an inner vacuum, and negativity naturally fills empty spaces. Fear grows stronger when life feels meaningless. Anxiety becomes louder when the heart feels disconnected from deeper truth. Purpose does not always mean some grand mission recognized by the world. Purpose can be found in the way you love, the way you heal, the way you create, the way you serve, the way you grow spiritually, or the way you bring peace into the lives of others. Purpose is anything that connects you to something greater than fear and ego. It gives your energy direction instead of allowing your consciousness to drift aimlessly through emotional chaos. When a person lives with meaning, negativity loses much of its control. Challenges still exist, pain still exists, uncertainty still exists, but the mind no longer kala. BSE is so easily under pressure because there is something deeper anchoring the spirit. A meaningful life creates inner resilience. It reminds you that your existence is larger than temporary emotional storms. Gratitude also transforms the entire emotional atmosphere of the mind. Most people have trained themselves to focus constantly on what is missing, what is wrong, what has been lost, or what has not yet happened. The mind becomes conditioned toward lack. Even beautiful moments pass unnoticed because attention remains trapped in dissatisfaction. This unconscious habit strengthens negativity because the mind begins believing that peace can only exist after everything becomes perfect. But life has never required perfection in order for gratitude to exist. Gratitude is not denial of pain. It is the conscious decision to recognize beauty even while life remains imperfect. It is the ability to appreciate breath, presence, growth, love, learning, connection, and simple moments often ignored by the restless mind. The more gratitude enters your awareness, the less space negativity occupies within you. Gratitude shifts emotional energy from scarcity toward abundance. It reminds the heart, RT, that life is still unfolding with meaning even during difficult seasons. Notice how differently you experience the world when gratitude becomes part of your daily consciousness. The same life suddenly feels lighter. Small moments begin carrying beauty again. You stop measuring your entire existence through fear, comparison, or endless dissatisfaction. Instead of constantly asking what is missing, the heart begins asking what is already here that I have failed to appreciate. This shift changes everything internally. Negativity thrives in unconsciousness. It feeds on constant mental noise, emotional reaction, and disconnection from the present moment. But gratitude returns you to presence. It reconnects you with the quiet miracle of being alive. Even in painful times, there are still moments of grace available to consciousness when awareness becomes open enough to receive them. Inner peace is also something many people misunderstand. They imagine peace as the absence of all problems, conflict, or emotional discomfort. But that is not true peace. Real peace is the ability to remain internally centered, regardless of what changes externally. It is not fragile because it does. It not depend entirely on circumstances. There will always be uncertainty in life. People will disappoint you. Situations will change unexpectedly. Loss is part of the human experience. But when your peace depends entirely on external control, life will constantly feel threatening because external conditions are always changing. Inner peace emerges only when you stop demanding that reality behave perfectly before allowing yourself to feel whole. This does not happen overnight. Inner peace is cultivated gradually through awareness, surrender, trust, gratitude, and conscious living. It grows each time you choose presence instead of panic, each time you choose forgiveness instead of resentment, each time you release the need to control everything outside yourself. So much negativity comes from resistance. The ego constantly fights reality, arguing with what already exists. It replays the past endlessly or fears the future obsessively. But peace enters when consciousness learns how to remain fully present with life as it unfolds. In the present moment, there is often far less suffering than the mind imagines. You begin realizing that peace is not hidden somewhere far away waiting to be discovered. Peace exists beneath the layers of fear, attachment, overthinking, and emotional noise. It has always existed within you. The problem is that most people have become so identified with mental chaos that they no longer recognize the stillness underneath it. When you reconnect with purpose, gratitude, and inner peace, your entire relationship with negativity changes. You stop feeding darkness with constant attention. You stop allowing fear to dominate your identity. Your energy becomes steadier because your consciousness is rooted in something deeper than temporary emotional experiences. And perhaps most importantly, you stop searching outside yourself for the peace that can only be awakened within. Because the moment you remember who you are beneath fear, negativity loses the power to define your life.